two members, Vaishali and me. My name is Al, and today we talk about the issues related to environmental health and safety when using nanomaterials and nanotechnology. And at first, I would like to give a brief introduction about nanomaterials and nanotechnology. What is nanotechnology? Nanotechnology is a technology basically dealing with the small structures or small size materials. And the size range is typically ranging from sub-nanometer to 100 nanometers. And what is 1 nanometer? 1 nanometer is 1 millionth of a meter. So to have a better imagination of how small the nanomaterial is, we can imagine if a nanoparticle was the size of a football, then you can see that a donut has the size of New Zealand. So if you imagine that the whole New Zealand has only the size of the donut, you can know that how small the nanoparticle is. And due to the nanoscale, the physical-chemical properties of materials is totally different from the bulk materials. And due to the specific physical-chemical properties, the nanomaterials have a great impact in environmental as well as in health. And we need to find out the better safety assessment. So in nanomaterials, nanoparticles probably cause the highest concern because of their potential rapid uptake by biological system, as well as the unknown distribution pathways in the biological system. And inside the biological system, we don't know the interaction, or we are investigating the interactions between the nanoparticles with the various components in the biological system. So here, I would like to show a video related to the nanoparticles spreading in the environment. So basically, do you have the link to the YouTube? Yeah. I'm sorry, I did try it before, but
nanotechnology is the application of materials smaller than 100 nanometers for the development of new products such as targeted drug delivery devices, thin flexible solar cells, and sensors for environmental toxins. We are visiting the Air Quality Engineering Laboratory at Virginia Tech to follow the journey of a nanoparticle. Our laboratory's work has shown that nanoparticles are readily aerosolized during the manufacturing process. They can then be transported thousands of miles in the atmosphere. Once they're in the atmosphere, nanoparticles may undergo reactions that will change their surface chemistry. Nanoparticles may also coagulate with other particles in the atmosphere, and then their fate is tied together. Some nanoparticles may be hydrophobic and will soar to sediment when they encounter aquatic environments. But atmospheric processing may make some nanoparticles more hydrophilic, such that they can be transported great distances in water and present a hazard to organisms.
So by knowing the toxicity of the nanoparticle impacted on the environmental, people has found out the way to have the better safety assessment. I think we ran out of time, so I would like to let Bashiri continue her talk, and because her section will include this section, so I just skipped the video.
So it's not just enough to say that nanoparticles are bad. We have taken a few of these like examples as case studies to show you what studies have been done or what studies have been carried out to assess the potential danger that nanoparticles possess to the environment and to health of humans and of the biota in general. Environmental issues basically are, it is the very properties of nanoparticles which make them useful, which also make them harmful or deleterious to the environment. They can get into soil, air, and water with equal ease, and eventually lead to health effects for humans as well as the biota. How nanoparticles affect the environment? It is seen that nanoparticles are easily incorporated by fungi. They accumulate on leaves and they can penetrate cells. And engineered nanoparticles, because of the fact that they have a more regular shape and size distribution, are more easily incorporated or travel through cell membranes and they are the main source of environmental danger to the biota in general. It is because of the high surface area to volume ratio of the nanoparticles that makes them so difficult to capture and tie down, because they don't agglomerate that easily. The properties of nanoparticles that cause their uptake into aquatic ecosystems is the hydrodynamic behavior of small particles, their easy association with colloidal particles, the fact that they bind very easily to lipophilic organic compounds and metals. They have synergistic effects with other chemical pollutants, and most of these nanoparticles, which actually originate in industrial sewage and industrial activities, eventually end up in all waterways around the world. It has been seen, and these are some of one of the references from where I took these pictures. It has been seen that many aquatic animals and species have been adversely affected by the collection of nanoparticles in their body. And the mechanism of the absorption of nanoparticles into the bodies of various fauna is different. It varies from organism to organism. Nanotubes can be released into the environment primarily from the usage of batteries, not during their normal use, but if batteries are incinerated or if fabrics are incinerated. It's only incinerating them at temperatures above 850 degrees Celsius that can prevent the release of nanotubes into the atmosphere. Now, the health issues that are the issues that come from the environmental pollution of nanomaterials, even though nanomaterials represent a huge amount of world consumption of materials right now, the potential of exposure of nanoparticles, there are various routes of exposure of nanoparticles to humans. The nanoparticles can deposit in lungs, the nanoparticles can be ingested, the nanoparticles can be penetrated through the epidermis. The effective particle size is that the equivalent dose of smaller particles represents a much larger surface area for reactions to take place. Now, they can have potential implications on DNA damage, tissue damage, and eventually lead to malignancy. And these are some of the pictures taken from some references. I forgot to put in the references. It has been seen, these are clinical studies, pictures taken from clinical studies where studies have actually shown to show the deposition or direct transport of nanoparticles, for example, manganese nanoparticles to the human brain, and then ultrafine gold nanoparticles, and then carbon nanoparticles, manganese nanoparticles to rats, and then the deposition of manganese nanoparticles and fullerenes in fish. Dermal penetration usually occurs because of the use of nanoparticles in cosmetics. Some of the health effects that have been studied by clinical studies, for example, in fullerenes, it has been seen to affect metabolism. It has been seen to have some carcinogen effects, some developmental effects, and some developmental effects as in like the development of embryo. Carbon nanotubes have been seen to deposit in Drosophila flies, and they have cellular and humoral effects. Even inorganic nanoparticles, there have been clinical studies carried out to assess their effects on organisms. For example, their effects on the gastrointestinal systems, their effects on livers, and cellular and humoral effects. And it is important to be able to monitor the presence of nanomaterials and to use them safely so that the applications become fruitful without causing deleterious effect on the environment and to the society as a whole. And these are the pictures that I found on the internet of, these are like Geiger-Müller counters that detect the presence of particles, particulate matter below a certain size in the environment, but I don't exactly know what mechanism they work by. And the exposure control in general can be utilized by practicing safe practices, practicing safe procedures of handling nanoparticles. Thank you.